Me too. Turning my phone off, actually.
Oh, so we're live. We're live.
Oh, so exciting! Our first live.
So, Tanmaya, thank you so much for joining us. Uh,
Mhm.
all of these interviews that I'm doing are with people that I think are amazing and
Mhm.
have done lots of different things in their life. And I'm so excited to be with you now and talking about all of your amazing projects. But first of all, a little bit of background about Tanmaya. So Tanmaya is a guide and healer in the Modern Mystery School. She has a very interesting background, which we're going to talk about now. And I'd really like to hear about her journey and how she actually came to be a guide and a healer in the mystery school, but also all of the other projects that have stemmed from that, because Tamaya is also the author of the Goddess Meditations, which has just been launched by a penguin and is on available for on Amazon and such like. So lots to talk about, Tamaya. So could you do a quick intro of your background, how it all started, where, what your, formal qualifications are, how it all came about.
Sure, sure. Yeah, so I was a bit of a nerd at school, and I did study quite a lot of different subjects. I always really enjoyed variety, and that kind of reflects in my background as well. I would say as a young child, I was always into literature, and then I studied engineering. I ended up working in business quite a bit, and worked all over the world really, and then left that part of my life to kind of recreate myself in a different way, and started working more with people, focusing on how can I have impact in changing people's inner lives. And because before I was more interested in how can I have impact on a global scale maybe, or how can I have impact by working with fair trade projects or different ways. And then over time I realized that the true impact we can have is when we work with people, and when we can shift within ourselves, it has a ripple effect all around ourselves. So so that kind of led me to what I'm doing now. And a big part of that work has been the women's circle that I have led since, I don't know how many years now, I think 7 years, 6 years, and here in London. And it kind of grew in its own way. It's I have my daughter here with us on the interview. It's part of motherhood and sisterhood. And it grew in its own way. And the book that you just mentioned is part of kind of came out of that. Yeah. And I also love working with energy work. This is kind of what I gravitated towards in the recent years.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's interesting. We've been talking about that in some of the other interviews that have been chatting about this. It's about this self-care, about it's not selfish to look after ourselves, because it has a ripple effect on the whole family. And obviously we see Leanne is here now, and you being mom, and you being that that part, the mummy in the family, I think is a important role for that. And I think that also transpires in the macrocosm, like you were saying. So it's interesting that you were wanting to do things on a global and world scale, and then you realized that the true change, it comes within. So how can we do that, Tamaya? What are some of your top tips? Especially for the mummies out there right now, and
Yeah.
how can we make these changes?
Yes. Well, I mean, first of all, we have to realize, especially as a mother, how important our role is, and how important it is that we manage our energy on a day-to-day basis, so that we feel centered and calm, and that we feel that we have something to give, that we're not starting to feel resentful, because that can easily happen when we, as moms, when we overgive. And it's actually quite simple. The practices that can support us in kind of recentering and rebalancing don't have to take hours. They don't have to take half a day of practices. If we are able to dedicate 5 minutes, 10 minutes to a self-care practice, that can already have a huge impact. And I talk about, and some of those practices are in the audiobook that I created just for that reason. But then also, of course, the rituals that I have learned through the Modern Mistress School have really helped me so much in doing that. I recommend that to all mothers, because if in 5 minutes you can reset your energy, that's really what you need. It's like a reset button.
And that's fascinating. And Tanmaya, you talk about this mother energy, this divine feminine energy, this goddess energy, and that's something that, you know, with the I know with this circles, the women's circles, and also with your goddess meditations, that you're very much in tune with. Can you expand on that? Because, you know, some people out there maybe don't even understand what the divine feminine, divine masculine is, why that's important. You know, what does it matter whether we're in touch with our divine feminine? You know?
Well, what I found is that as we nurture and start to learn more about the divine within ourselves, whether it's the divine feminine or the divine masculine, it means that we can raise our perspective. So in therapy, which is my background, originally I started as a therapist working with people, the focus is much more on solving the issues of the lower self. And in the spiritual work, we are reconnecting more with the divine within, with the higher self, and from there all the problems of the lower self are much easier, you know, to solve. So we have a different resource, we have a different anchor. So learning how to embody that and learning what that frequency feels like in our lives is really, in my experience, key to our healing and really accelerates that. And the divine feminine, you know, what does it mean to you? That's really the question, because it's so vast and so wide. We can't really just say it's one thing. Oftentimes, you know, we see a nurturing quality, we see the love in the feminine, and that's such an important part of what we are here to give as mothers, as lovers, as women in the planet. But the warrior is also a very important aspect in the feminine, and you'll see it in all the pantheons. So whether it's like Athena in the Greek pantheon or Durga in the Indian, so you'll have all those different warrior archetypes in the mythologies of, you know, goddesses, and those goddesses are here to protect and create a space that is needed for that nurturing and love that we are also here to give.
So that's interesting. We talk about these ancient gods and goddesses, and again, you know, maybe there's many people out there going, well, you know, that's just mythology. It's something that, you know, I don't know, when we were growing up in the UK, that we used to have these really bad movies like Sinbad, and we used to see all these, you know, the ancient gods, but we really never really connected into them. So how can they be relevant to us in the modern day world? What, you know, what is that link, and what was the inspiration behind your audiobook?
Well, by getting to know ourselves, we can get to know the divine within, because that's really the source of all our power and all our, you know, all our gifts. And the archetypes are just a mirror, really, of who we are on the deepest level, and so they can teach us about ourselves. That's been really my journey of learning about myself, and I hope it will inspire other women to step on that path as well, because there's so much that can come from that, and so much abundance, so much joy, and so many discoveries, and life can become a lot more pleasurable and easy when we start to flow the energy in that way.
Yeah, and I really like, you know, when I was, you know, growing up, there was, you know, certain characters, I guess, or, you know, like we would say, gods and goddesses, that really inspired me, and I really wanted to be strong, and, you know, and to have that warrior goddess energy. And I noticed that, you know, when I was growing up, that women tended to be either very harsh in their energy, in terms of, you know, they wore the big shoulder pads, and they were like, yeah, we're going to be joining the men, we're going to be the men. Or they were very feminine, and again, that was something that I didn't relate to either or. And so how important is it that we understand the balance of this feminine energy?
Yes, I mean, the word balance is really key, right? And I think sometimes we forget that. I keep looking at these hairs sticking out here. We forget that as women, we have a different kind of body, right? We have a womb, we have like a different energy system with our hormones and everything that comes with that. And so that takes a different form of nurturing, and we can learn how to do that through different practices. And of course, gentleness and softness begins with how we are with ourselves. So are we able to kind of nurture and love ourselves, and from there then spread that further around ourselves, right? So yes.
Mommy,
Yes, my love.
my baby's coming.
Oh, okay. We have a little situation. Can you tell Daddy that your poop is coming? Is that okay? Okay. I need to. Okay, just a second. Mira. Okay, great. Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. So,
And this is perfect, showing how, you know, we want to keep these interviews real. This is real life. This is how fathers have to deal with things all of the time, and you know, and parents have to deal with things all the time, and you know, and nothing is staged. And I think that's something that, for me, you know, we see so many, you know, women, you know, in you know, in the spotlight, and it's all staged, and they look beautiful all the time, and their families are perfect, and all, you know, these different types of things. And I think, you know, that puts an incredible amount of pressure on women, and what they feel, maybe, you know, that divine feminine goddess power is, that you have to have it all together all of the time, and that you're balancing and you're juggling about you know, a million things. So I think it's, you know, we should keep it real in these you know, interviews, and this is life. So tell us, Tanmaya, how your work at the Mystery School. So you're a guide and healer at the Mystery School. I know you travel around the world teaching, and you know, you have many clients from all backgrounds. But tell us a little bit more about the type of clients that would come to you, because I think sometimes people think that, you know, if you're seeking a spiritual practice, then maybe you're wearing a tie-dyed skirt and omming and, you know, hugging a tree, something, I don't know. But can you tell us about the type of clientele that you have?
Yeah, well, it's very, very varied, but I think in terms of, you couldn't really describe it in saying, oh, this nationality or this job or this background. But I think the common thread, it is that it's people who want to go beyond the understanding that they have of the world as it is now. They want to understand whether the true metaphysical mechanism of the reality that we're currently living. And they want to understand how they can affect that and have an impact on that. So that's the, you know, they might not always say that in exactly these words, but that's what I see and feel in the people when they come, that it's a big driving force. So there is a desire for personal healing, of course, but there's usually some kind of deeper search of understanding how we fit into this world and how we can actually truly have an impact in the world as individuals.
So do you see a lot, you know, from what you're describing, that you know, that's often people that perhaps you know, have had success in their life, that are you know, that are logical brained as well as magically brained. I would call it magically brained, but they don't have to be you know, a certain, they don't have to be in a certain box to come to the path.
Yes, definitely. Absolutely. There's no such thing as a box. And in fact, I think sometimes that's what I missed a little bit about the past. I was like, oh, but how I'm like, what's the community, or what's the common thread here? Because people were so much being themselves. So I don't feel like there is the need of that. But at the same time, it's a path that, you know, you have to really mean it. Yeah, in the sense of you have, and I think in a way when you're saying that people will have had success in their lives previously, that's probably is something that will help you also along the line, because you will have had that determination to get to a place in your life. But at the same time, I also feel like a lot of the people who come have been maybe in a place where they were a bit stuck. They might have achieved success externally, but they didn't feel like that, in the sense that maybe it wasn't fulfilling them. Yeah. That's what I see a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll just end with just telling us a little bit about the goddess meditations, and where we can find that, and how we can, what we could expect.
Yeah, so it's really a sense of slowing down and embodying, and sometimes in our lives things can go really fast, right? We can have interruptions, we can have people talking, asking, especially as a mom, continuously we can be at a high pace, and those practices are really helping us to reconnect more with a slower rhythm within ourselves, and to take time out to reconnect to the divine within. And there's different ways we do that in the ebook. So there's you can find it on Amazon, you can find it on Apple Books, you can find it on pretty much everywhere. Yeah.
And we'll put the link in here for everybody, Tanmaya, as well. And I know that you're going to come back and talk to us some more about other stuff.
Yes.
It was a quick intro this evening, because I know that you're busy, family life, and it's the weekend, and you kindly agreed to come on. So we can put the link in here. And
oh yes, sure. I'll tap it in. Let me see in the comments. Maybe is that where I should put it?
I'll put some comments here. So Fiona's saying, so inspirational, Tanmaya. Women really need this support right now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yes,
The pool came and he did like splash.
wow, it made splash. That's amazing.
Well, thank you so much, Tanmaya, for coming on, and we're going to talk to you again. So that's wonderful, and I'm going to put this in the comment box so that people.
On Amazon, you'll find it. I mean, I think I should be able to find the actual Amazon link now if you want me to.
We can put those links in there as well for people later as well. So excellent. And people, and also if you want to find Tanmaya, she's going to put her email address in here, or some kind of contact, her website. So if you're looking for any help or assistance, if you want to join a women's circle, if you want some support around the goddess and the divine feminine, then Tanmaya, I know her schedule is very busy, but I do know that she does take on new clients occasionally. So, get yourself booked in there is what I say.
Yes, definitely. I've been traveling quite a bit, but always happy to support or refer people as well to other practitioners in other regions or areas. So yeah.
Lovely. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, and we'll be part of the next chat with you.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.